The tomb guard's spotless boots are splashed with sticky liquid when the soda can hits the pavement with a dull thud. Gasps pierced the August heat when the packed Arlington froze. 13-year-old Tyler Grayson, wearing high-end sneakers, smiled as his phone began to record the ideal viral video. He expected chuckles, perhaps even a flinch from the stony-faced soldier. However, the tomb guard, Ethan Caldwell, remained still. Behind sunglasses, his eyes blazed with a rage that no one could have predicted. A single act of disrespect was about to set off a chain reaction that would alter the concept of honor for a boy, a family, and a country. Tyler was unaware that the man he made fun of was bearing the burden of a sibling who had died, and the tomb he guarded contained secrets that would soon cause everything to break apart. Before we dive into the story, please subscribe, like the video, and tell us, from where are you watching from in the comments section. Join us in preserving their memory if you still think that virtues like bravery, honor, and sacrifice are important. At Arlington National Cemetery, it was Memorial Day. The unnamed soldier's tomb was surrounded by a throng of tourists as the sun shone down. A hush fell over the gathering as something important was about to take place, and the air was heavy with heat and reverence. Tourists, veterans, and families stood shoulder to shoulder, staring at the lone sentinel as it paced with robotic accuracy. He wore a clean navy blue uniform, his sunglasses concealed any emotion, and his kepi hat sat low. There was purpose in every step, turn, and click of his heels. The man who bore the burden of honor was Ethan Caldwell, a 28-year-old tomb guard who served in the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment. The Grayson family from California was among the attendees. Tech CEO Jonathan Grayson was wearing a fitted suit and was staring at his phone while sending emails. Lauren, his wife, was caught holding a cemetery map while wearing high-end sunglasses on her nose. Between them was their 13-year-old son, Tyler, with flawlessly gelled blonde hair and an attire that screamed wealth, a custom t-shirt, limited edition sneakers, and a brand new phone hanging from his hand. The ceremony was not attended by Tyler. His parents believed that a vacation to Washington, D.C. would look nice on their social media accounts, so they brought him here. However, Tyler saw this as just another dull stop on a trip he didn't want to do. Tyler said, "This is so lame," loud enough for tourists to look over. "Why are we standing here watching some guy walk back and forth? It's like 100 degrees out here." Lauren sighed and hardly raised her head. "Tyler, honey, just try to enjoy it. This is important," Tyler sneered as he flipped through his phone. "Important? It's just some old tomb. I bet this guy's just a wannabe soldier playing dress-up." Jonathan remained glued to his screen. "Let him complain, Lauren. He'll get over it." As Ethan finished his 21 steps and turned to face the tomb, the audience fell silent. He was a living testament to the unidentified troops who sacrificed all with his perfect moves. Years of arduous training, motivated by the memories of his older brother Michael, who never returned from Afghanistan, had earned Ethan this position. He did everything he did for Michael, the fallen, and the nation. Tyler, however, missed that. He only saw an opportunity to become viral. Tyler held up his phone and declared, "I'm going to get a sick video of this guy. Bet I can make him flinch." He narrated loudly as he began to record. "Yo, check out this robot soldier. Bet he's sweating buckets under that hat." Tyler didn't care that a few tourists gave him shady looks. He was accustomed to receiving praise and to his parents putting up with any conflict he started. His acquaintances praised his family's money, and his teachers back home ignored him. Tyler believed that there were no rules and that the world was his playground. Tyler's restlessness turned to mischief as Ethan turned for another pass. In his hand, he noticed a half-empty Coke can, a lunch left over. A smile appeared on his face. "Yo, this is going to be epic," he said in a low voice. Sensing trouble, the crowd mumbled. But Jonathan and Lauren were too preoccupied to notice, so he moved closer to the rope barrier, disregarding the signs that said, "Stay back." Tyler hurled the Coke can with a flick of his wrist. It struck the floor close to Ethan's feet, splattering gooey fluid on his shiny boots. The hush was broken by a collective gasp from the crowd. Ethan did not recoil. His jaw tensed just a bit, but his face stayed stony as his steps continued. He remained stable due to years of combat and discipline. The loss of his brother, roadside bombs, and enemy fire had all been worse than a pampered child. However, this was an insult of a different sort. Encouraged by the audience's response, Tyler's laughter increased. He lifted his phone once more and focused on Ethan's boots, saying, "Yo, he didn't even blink. This guy's a total statue. Check out the mess I made. This is going viral." In the crowd, an old man with a Vietnam veteran cap leaned in the direction of his wife. He whispered, "That kid's got no respect. Someone needs to teach him a lesson." Unaware, Tyler continued on. He approached the rope directly and leaned over it. He turned to the audience, expecting to hear laughter, but all he received were glares. "Hey, soldier boy, you going to clean that up or what? Bet you can't even talk." A woman shielded her children from the horror by drawing them closer. Teenagers shook their heads and murmured. At last, Jonathan raised his head from his phone. "Tyler, what are you doing? Get back here." "Relax, Dad," Tyler murmured, dismissing him. "I'm just having fun. These guys are paid to stand there, right? They work for us." Heavy and incorrect, the words lingered in the air. For a brief moment, Ethan's sunglasses-covered gaze focused on Tyler. Even though he had heard worse remarks in combat zones, this child's haughtiness really got to him. The unidentified soldier's tomb was more than just a monument. For men and women who devoted their life without ever tasting fame or wealth, it was a monument to sacrifice, and this child was using it as a backdrop for TikTok. Unfazed, Tyler took out his phone once more. He exclaimed, "Time for the money shot," as he crossed the rope barrier. Phones came out to record as the audience burst into murmuring. With his phone raised for a selfie, Tyler strode over to Ethan. "Yo, me and the statue guy. This is going to get 1,000,000 likes." The line was that. Something snapped, despite Ethan's training telling him to remain motionless and ignore the provocation. He wasn't the only one involved. It was about all the soldiers who never returned home, including Michael. Ethan moved forward, grabbed the phone out of Tyler's hand, and dropped it on the sidewalk in a single, smooth motion that was quicker than anyone could have predicted. Like a gunshot, the screen shatter reverberated. The audience froze. Tyler's eyes widened in surprise and his jaw fell. He said, You broke my phone. That's a $2,000 phone. You're going to pay for that." Ethan went back to his place with perfect posture and an unreadable face, but the atmosphere had altered. Whispers ran through the throng, some astonished, some softly rejoicing. Inspector Laura Bennett and other security personnel pushed through the throng. Laura, a tough cop who had been at Arlington for 15 years, talked into her radio. "We've got a situation at the tomb." Kid crossed the line, and the sentinel responded. Jonathan rushed forward. His expression said, "This is outrageous. That soldier assaulted my son. I'm calling my lawyer. Do you know who I am?" Laura's voice was forceful but calm as she raised a hand. "Sir, your son threw a soda can at a tomb guard and crossed a restricted barrier. That's assault and trespassing on federal property. You're lucky the sentinel didn't do more. He's a kid." Clutching her pocketbook, Lauren let out a yell. "You can't treat him like a criminal." "Ma'am," Laura responded, "age doesn't excuse disrespecting the tomb. This is a sacred place, and your son just defiled it." Tyler glanced around while continuing to stare at his broken phone. He saw for the first time the expressions of rage, disdain, and despair on the faces of the throng. Nearby, a group of veterans stood with their gaze steely and their arms crossed. One of them shook her head, a woman in her 60s wearing a Marine Corps pin. She mentioned, "I buried friends here," loud enough for Tyler to hear. "You should be ashamed." Already circulating was the hashtag #ArlingtonKid. Videos of Tyler's stunt and Ethan's reaction were making the rounds on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. The story, "Teen Disrespects, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier," was making national headlines, and news vans were on their way. Laura looked at her group. "Escort the family to the security office. We need to sort this out." Jonathan objected, but the guards refused to back down. As the throng dispersed, they escorted the Graysons away, with some taking pictures and others mumbling about pampered, wealthy children. With his unwavering focus and his boots still smeared with soda, Ethan continued to march, but he sensed a storm inside. He didn't regret breaking protocol, which was uncommon for a tomb guard. Not quite yet. The Graysons sat opposite Laura and Colonel Margaret Hayes, Ethan's unit's commanding officer, in the security office, a tiny air-conditioned space filled with pictures of Arlington's past. Silver-haired and steely-eyed, Margaret, a 50-year-old veteran, didn't hold back. "Mr. Grayson, your son committed assault on a federal officer and disrespected a national monument," she continued. "This isn't a game. The tomb represents every soldier who gave their life for this country. Your son treated it like a circus." Leaning forward, Jonathan's businessman instincts took over. "Look, Colonel, I'm sure we can work this out. I'll write a check to the cemetery, cover any damages. Let's keep this quiet." Margaret squinted her eyes. "This isn't about money, Mr. Grayson. It's about respect, or the complete lack of it. Your son needs to learn that actions have consequences, no matter how much money you have." Lauren held her husband's arm tightly. He's only 13. He didn't mean any harm. He's just a kid. Laura described him as a kid who thinks he's above the rules, and judging by your reactions, I can see where he gets it. Tyler lost his typical swagger and sagged in his chair. The issue was beginning to weigh heavily. His lifeline, his phone, was broken. The entire world was observing, and they weren't supporting him. He felt little for the first time. Margaret got to her feet. I'm calling in a specialist to assess your son. This isn't just about punishment. It's about making sure he understands what he's done. Until then, you're not leaving Arlington. Dr. Emily Carter, a 38-year-old psychotherapist with expertise in problematic teenagers, showed in an hour later. Emily had previously witnessed children like Tyler, pampered, entitled, and attention-seeking, but she had never instilled in them a sense of responsibility. In a separate room, she sat down with Tyler and spoke in a calm yet straightforward manner. With her pen resting atop a notebook, she stated, "Tyler, I need you to tell me why you did what you did." Tyler avoided looking into her eyes and shrugged. "I was bored. That guy was just standing there like a robot. I thought it'd be funny." Emily arched an eyebrow. "Funny? You threw a soda can at a soldier guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. Do you know what that tomb represents?" Tyler gave another shrug. "Some dead soldiers, I guess." Emily bent over. "Those dead soldiers gave their lives for this country. They died so you could have the freedom to stand here and act like a fool. That guard, Ethan, is honoring them, and you disrespected that." Tyler made an uncomfortable change. "It was just a soda can. It's not like I hurt him. It's not about physical harm, Tyler. It's about respect. You treated a sacred place like your personal playground. How do you think that guard felt?" Mumbling, "I don't know," Tyler said. "He didn't even react. That's because he's trained to stay professional, even when people like you try to provoke him. But trust me, he felt it, and so did every veteran in that crowd." Tyler's fingers twitched as he gazed down. He had nothing to say. He was beginning for the first time to view the guard as more than a prop, as a human being. The media frenzy was intensifying outside. The story had been picked up by CNN and Fox News, and Arlington Kid was trending globally. Parents, privilege, and patriotism were discussed by commentators. A veteran posted a widely shared tweet that said, "This kid needs to learn what sacrifice means. The tomb isn't a joke." His public relations staff was ringing Jonathan's phone to warn that his company's stock was declining. Lauren was forced to go private after receiving a barrage of hateful remarks on social media. Emily returned to the room and offered her suggestion. "Tyler needs a wake-up call," she informed the Graysons and Margaret. "I'm proposing a 4-week community service program here at Arlington. He'll work with the grounds crew, meet veterans, and learn about the tomb's significance. If he doesn't cooperate, we'll escalate to juvenile authorities." Jonathan turned pale. "You can't be serious. He's a kid, not a criminal. According to Margaret, he committed assault on federal property. Be grateful we're offering an alternative to legal charges. This is about teaching him, not punishing him." Tears came to Lauren's eyes. "But our vacation, we're supposed to fly to Paris next week." "Your vacation is over," Laura stated in a direct manner. "Your son's education starts now." Tyler remained quiet, his thoughts racing. Volunteering in the community, keeping a cemetery clean. It was a nightmare, but he knew he couldn't escape this from the expression in Emily's eyes. Tyler's life shifted throughout the course of the following 4 weeks. He traded in his luxury attire for jeans and a work shirt every morning when he woke up. Under the Virginia sun, he plowed paths, removed weeds, and polished headstones. He whined non-stop during the first week, but the grounds crew didn't give in to his demands. Men and women who had fought in conflicts Tyler had only read about. They were veterans. Clara Thompson, a 90-year-old World War II nurse who cared for injured soldiers in Normandy, was introduced to Tyler by Emily one afternoon. Clara's voice was powerful, yet her hands shook as she talked. "I held boys younger than you as they died," she continued. "They didn't know if we'd win the war, but they fought anyway. That's what the tomb is for. Those who gave everything." Tyler listened without his typical sarcasm. He played games and watched movies, but Clara's stories were different. They were weighty and real and raw. He experienced something like embarrassment for the first time. Tyler went to a wreath-laying ceremony on Memorial Day during the 3rd week. He saw Ethan march once more while standing in the crowd. The crowd's quiet, the guard's accuracy, and the gravity of the situation all struck Tyler in a new way. He could see the respect in the veterans' salutes and the pride in Ethan's strides. The mausoleum was more than a memorial, he realized. It was an unforgettably memorable promise. Emily arranged for Tyler and Ethan to meet on the last day of his program. Emily and Colonel Hayes were sitting in a quiet office with a view of the cemetery. Despite wearing regular clothing, Ethan had a distinctly military demeanor. As Tyler turned to face the man he had disrespected, his stomach rumbled. Tyler said, "Ethan, I'm sorry," in a steady yet gentle tone. "I was a jerk. I didn't get what you do, what this place means. I treated you like a prop, and that was wrong." Ethan looked at him, his face unreadable. "Why'd you do it, kid?" Tyler paused. "I thought it'd make me look cool online. I didn't think about you as a person. I didn't think about the soldiers you're honoring. I've been talking to veterans, learning about what they went through. My grandpa was a Marine. He'd be ashamed of me." Ethan gave a slow nod. "My brother was a soldier too. Michael. He died in Afghanistan when I was your age. I guard the tomb for him. For all the ones who didn't come home, when you threw that soda, you weren't just disrespecting me. You were disrespecting them." Tyler felt pain in his eyes. "I get that now. I can't undo it, but I want to make it right." Ethan bent over. "You're starting to. Admitting you were wrong takes guts. Keep listening. Keep learning. That's how you honor the fallen." Tyler's throat tightened as he nodded. "I will. I promise." Ethan held out his hand. With a solid and genuine grip, Tyler shook it. Tyler felt for the first time that he was being viewed as a person with the capacity to change, rather than as a wealthy child. That was not the end of the story. Tyler's path, a redemption narrative that substituted Tomb Guard lesson for Arlington Kid, made national headlines. In an effort to connect with other young people who were similar to him, he launched a blog where he shared what he had discovered about respect and sacrifice. Shaken by the event, Jonathan and Lauren decided to raise Tyler in a different way and enrolled in parenting classes. Ethan carried on with his work. He was a silent protector of the dead, his boots shining and his steps exact. No one ever replaced the broken phone. But more valuable than any device was what Tyler acquired: respect, humility, and a feeling of purpose beyond himself. As always, the tomb of the unidentified soldier stood as a reminder that some things are sacred and that some teachings alter your life forever. To help provide more stories like this, if you like the story, think about sending a fantastic chat. Now click the video on the screen to hear another equally compelling and dramatic story about bravery, sacrifice, and a decision that will make you reevaluate your entire understanding of justice and duty. Press the video button.